I'm told that my overanalyzing is a double-edged sword, but I'm suffering from being this way. Yeah, well, you're probably, high in openness, and maybe you're very verbally intelligent, so you're pretty much stuck with that. Maybe you've got a bit of mania to you too, and I don't mean that in a negative sense. I find relief when I drink alcohol, smoke, or take certain drugs because it slows down my thought process. How can I use my overanalysis to my advantage? Well, I would say find yourself a difficult cognitive problem to solve. Pick a challenge. But, you also might consider talking to someone. You find relief when you drink alcohol. That might be an indication that some of what you're overanalyzing isn't so much a consequence of excess cognitive power, but an excess of high negative emotion. And so that would be illustrated in, say, high trait neuroticism. We're going to release the Big 5 aspect scale here later this month, and you'll be able to take that, and it'll give you a pretty good detailed description of your personality. And there's 2 dimensions of neuroticism: withdrawal and volatility. And if you're overanalyzing because you're what do you call that? Ruminating, that can be a consequence of high levels of anxiety. And the reason I'm suggesting that is because you said you find relief when you drink alcohol, and alcohol is a very powerful anxiolytic agent, anti-anxiety agent. And so lots of people who have high levels of anxiety do ruminate, and so overanalyze, let's say, and they find relief when they drink because alcohol is a primary anxiolytic, like Valium, like benzodiazepines and barbiturates. So the fact that alcohol gives you relief probably indicates that some of what's driving your overanalysis is anxiety. And then you could, exercise can really help with that. I would also recommend, this is something really to think about, I don't know what your eating habits are like or your sleeping habits, but if you are an anxious person and that's manifesting itself in, say, neurotic overanalysis, there's 2 things you can do very rapidly, 3 things really, that will help quell that. 4 things even. Number 1, get up at the same time every day. And I would recommend in the morning, because that's when people generally get up, and it's good to do what everyone else does unless you have a good reason not to. Number 2, eat a large breakfast, right? Keep it carbohydrate light. Don't eat toast and and Fruit Loops. That's not going to do the trick. Make it fat and protein heavy, and eat more than you want. You might say, I'm not hungry in the morning. It's like, this has nothing to do with what you want or what your appetite is. It's like, you need to eat in the morning. If you're an anxious person and you don't eat in the morning and then you stress yourself out, your body hyperproduces insulin. It takes all the blood sugar out of your blood, and that dysregulates your metabolism for the entire day. You can't reset it till you go to sleep at night. And I've had lots of anxious clients who would say fall into the overanalytic category, who were like virtually cured by eating a large breakfast every morning. I would highly recommend that. You could try some physical exercise. Weightlifting is really good for curing anxiety. Another thing you could do, as I alluded to earlier today, is to make a schedule and start attending to your daily micro routines. So, you got to figure out what your overanalysis is. It might be cognitive, like maybe you have a very active mind, you're fast verbally. Are you fast verbally? One way you can find that out is to do something like write down as many words as you can that begin with the letter S, for example, in 3 minutes. Do that with a bunch of your friends. And if you're someone who writes down way more words than anyone else, then you're verbally fluent, and that might be driving some of your overanalysis. But my guess is that you're suffering from some rumination that's related to anxiety. And so I told you what I think the simplest ways are to rectify that. So I hope that works out for you. Let's see, what else have we got here? Okay.